Sure, here is section 1 of the script, with a minimum of 760 words, tightly written, emotionally engaging, and without any fluff or scene directions. It started with a favor. Just a simple request from an old friend I hadn't seen in years. If you'd told me then that it would unravel everything I thought I knew about my life, I would have laughed. But now, I'm not even sure who I was before that moment. My name's Ethan. I've been married to Olivia for 8 years. Ours wasn't a storybook romance, but it was comfortable, steady. We had our routine, weekdays in the office, weekends catching up on laundry or dinner with friends. Love, I thought, looked a lot like reliability. Olivia used to call me her rock. Lately, she stopped calling me anything at all. We weren't in a bad place. Not really. Just stale. The spark had turned to ash, but I figured that was normal. People don't stay on fire forever. We still laughed sometimes. We still touched. Just less often, with less intention. Then Lucas came back into my life. He and I were roommates in college. Total opposites. Where I was quiet and methodical, he was loud, spontaneous, the kind of guy who could charm anyone. We'd lost touch after graduation. So when he messaged me out of nowhere, saying he was in town for work and looking to catch up, I was genuinely happy to hear from him. Olivia had never met him before, and I could tell right away she found him interesting. She said he reminded her of someone from a movie. She smiled more that night than I'd seen in weeks. I didn't think much of it. Lucas was magnetic. He always had that effect on people. He crashed on our guest bed that weekend. Said he'd booked a hotel but didn't like the vibe. It felt like old times, the three of us eating takeout and reminiscing. He made Olivia laugh until she cried. I was glad she was enjoying herself. The favor came 2 nights later. He asked if Olivia and I were planning anything for the weekend. I said we might drive up to her sister's for a night. That's when he said it. Would you mind if I used your place while you're gone? He asked, casual as ever. I've been seeing someone. Just don't want to bring her to a hotel. I laughed. It was absurd, but not offensive. Seriously? I asked. He shrugged. You trust me, right? I looked at Olivia, expecting her to be uncomfortable with it, but she just said, I mean, if we are not here, does it matter? So we went. Left Saturday morning, came back Sunday afternoon. House looked normal. Lucas was gone, just a thank you note on the kitchen counter. I thought that was the end of it, but something had changed. Olivia was distant in a way that didn't feel like fatigue anymore. Her phone was always face down. She'd laugh at texts and type quickly when I walked in. Once or twice, I caught her erasing conversations. When I asked, she said it was just Claire, her best friend. We vent about work, she said. Claire stopped by a week later. She's always been blunt. After Olivia went to the store, Claire looked at me and said, you know, she's glowing more lately. Something's different. I smiled and said maybe the break did her good. Claire looked at me for a long time and replied, just make sure it's the kind of good you think it is. I laughed nervously. I shouldn't have. Lucas started texting again, even though he'd supposedly left town. I'd catch Olivia smiling at her phone, not noticing I was in the room. She'd lock the screen if I got too close. I brushed off the suspicion. This was Olivia. My wife. She'd never do anything to hurt me. We'd built a life together. People don't throw that away over charm and flattery, but it kept gnawing at me. Something about the way she said Lucas's name now. Too casual. Too often. Like she was trying to keep it normal. That's when I remembered something Lucas said in college. Women are only as loyal as their options. Make her feel something she's missing, and she'll follow it. It used to be a joke. A twisted, stupid college joke. Now it echoed in my mind like a warning I'd ignored. I lay in bed beside Olivia that night, her back turned to me, and stared at the ceiling. I wanted to believe I was imagining things. That I was being paranoid. But deep down, I knew that favor wasn't about a girl. It wasn't innocent, and something inside me had already started to break. Absolutely. Here is section 2 of the script, with a minimum of 760 words, continuing directly from the first part, maintaining a tight narrative, emotionally charged tone, and no fluff. I stopped asking questions out loud. Instead, I started listening. Watching. The silence between us grew louder each day. I told myself I was being careful, not paranoid. But when the person you trust the most starts looking unfamiliar, your mind doesn't stop, it fills in the blanks for you. One morning, I passed Olivia's phone on the counter. Just glanced. A message flashed across the screen. Last night was perfect. Same time next week? No name, just the preview. She walked into the room a second later, grabbed it quickly, acted like nothing happened. I didn't say a word. My hands were shaking, but I smiled. I made coffee. I kissed her cheek. I spent the whole day pretending I hadn't seen it. That night, she went to bed early. Claimed she had a migraine. I stayed downstairs, staring at nothing. Everything inside me was screaming. I needed to know. Not guess, not suspect, no. I found an old phone in a drawer. Charged it. Downloaded a recording app. The next day, when Olivia left for her yoga class, I slid it between two books on the bedroom shelf. I didn't even know what I was hoping to catch. Maybe I just needed confirmation that I wasn't crazy. I played the recording the next morning. And there it was. The sound of the door opening. Her voice. Another voice, his. Lucas. Joking, laughing, then quieter. Breathless. Noises I can't unhear. She brought him into our bedroom. Into the life we built. And she didn't even hesitate. I sat there, gripping the phone, staring at the wall like it might crack from the pressure inside me. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just shut down. Like a switch flipped. All the warmth drained out of me, and in its place came this cold, mechanical clarity. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a theory. It was real. I didn't tell her I knew. Not right away. I watched her for days after that, how she touched me without feeling, smiled without meaning it, said I love you like it was a habit. I wondered if she was trying to convince me or herself. Claire came by again. We sat on the porch. I think she knew before I said anything. You know, don't you? She asked quietly. I nodded. She didn't ask how. She just said, I'm sorry. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. One night, after dinner, I just said it. How long has it been going on? Olivia froze. Fork halfway to her mouth. She didn't even try to play dumb. Her eyes welled up. Ethan, I didn't mean for. I cut her off. Just answer the question. She looked away. Whispered, a few weeks. Maybe a little more. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I needed to feel something. Was it worth it? I asked. All of this, for him? She started crying. I didn't plan it. It just happened. We were talking, and I felt seen. By my best friend, I said. She didn't defend it. That almost made it worse. No excuses. Just silence. I asked if it was still going on. She shook her head. Said Lucas left town. That she hadn't heard from him since. I didn't believe her. I didn't believe anything anymore. I walked out to the garage and sat in my car. The key wasn't even in the ignition. I just stared at the dashboard like it might give me answers. I thought about every moment we'd ever shared. The apartment we moved into when we were broke. The night we stayed up eating cereal on the floor. The morning she told me she wanted kids someday. All of it, tainted now. I don't know how long I sat there. 2 hours, maybe more. I couldn't decide if I was angry or just numb. Eventually, I went back inside. She was still crying. Still apologizing. I didn't say a word. Just went to bed. The next morning, I made coffee like always. She came into the kitchen, eyes swollen. I poured her a cup without asking if she wanted one. We sat in silence. Everything around us looked the same, but nothing felt familiar. I think the worst part of betrayal isn't the pain, it's the confusion. The way it makes you question your memories. Did she ever love me? Was I ever enough? Or had I just been convenient? One moment kept playing in my head. Lucas, years ago, drunk at some party, saying, you can't trust anyone forever. Everyone has a breaking point. I used to think he was cynical. Now I just think he was right, and somewhere in the wreckage of my thoughts, I realized something. This wasn't just about Olivia and Lucas. It was about me. Who I was. Who I'd become. What I'd ignored, tolerated, accepted, this betrayal didn't just end our marriage. It broke the mirror I'd spent years polishing, and all I could see now was the version of myself I'd abandoned to keep the peace. Absolutely. Here is section 3 of the script, with a minimum of 760 words, maintaining the emotional progression and sharp pacing, with no repetition from previous sections. I didn't move back in. I told Olivia I needed time, and that wasn't a lie, but the truth was, I needed distance more than clarity. I stayed in a motel for the first week, then a friend's place. Every morning, I'd wake up hoping I'd feel something definitive: rage, relief, forgiveness. But all I felt was emptiness. She texted constantly. Long paragraphs, short apologies, photos of us from years ago. I read every word but never replied. It wasn't punishment. I just had nothing left to say. Claire checked on me every few days. She didn't offer advice. She didn't try to fix anything. She just sat beside me in silence, like someone keeping vigil for a version of me that had died. I appreciated that more than anything else. I started therapy. First session was awkward. I didn't know how to talk about being betrayed without sounding like I'd failed. But somewhere between the therapist's questions and my own answers, I started unpacking years of buried silence. I realized I had become passive without noticing. Always the peacemaker, the fixer. Always minimizing my own needs to avoid conflict. It wasn't that Olivia cheated because of something I did wrong. But I'd stopped being present. I existed beside her, not with her. And maybe she was too afraid or too selfish to say it out loud, so she acted on the emptiness instead. I hated what she did. But I couldn't pretend our marriage hadn't been eroding quietly for a long time. 2 weeks after I left, Olivia sent me a letter instead of a message. A real, handwritten letter. She said she wasn't writing to ask for forgiveness or a second chance. She just wanted to tell the truth, in full, without interruptions or excuses. She wrote that she felt invisible for a long time and didn't know how to ask for connection without sounding needy. That when Lucas came around, he didn't make her feel loved, just alive. And she mistook the thrill of being noticed for something meaningful. She said she was ashamed, not just of what she did, but how easily she gave into it. And finally, she said she understood if I never spoke to her again, but hoped I would find peace, even if it wasn't with her. I read that letter more times than I want to admit. Not because I missed her, but because it was the first time she'd spoken without defense or manipulation. It was raw. And I believed it. She didn't ask for me back. She gave me closure. 3 weeks in, I returned to the house, not to stay, just to gather the rest of my things. Olivia was there. We didn't argue. We didn't cry. We just talked. Two people sitting across from each other, finally honest. She asked if I could ever forgive her. I said maybe, but forgiveness didn't mean staying. I told her I loved who we were, once. But I couldn't build trust from ashes. Not again, she nodded. I left with boxes and a strange sense of calm. I moved into a small apartment across town. Quiet, nothing special. But it was mine. I started picking up old hobbies, things I hadn't done in years. I rebuilt my workbench, started crafting wood pieces again. Something about shaping broken things into purpose gave me peace. I shared a few photos online. To my surprise, people started following. Requests came in. Then commissions. One project became 10. It wasn't about the money. It was about being seen for something that had nothing to do with my past. Just me, creating, rebuilding. A few months passed. Olivia and I exchanged a few polite emails about logistics, insurance, documents, signatures. Divorce was quiet, almost anticlimactic. I didn't feel like a failure when I signed the papers. I felt free. One night, sitting on my balcony, coffee in hand, I realized something. The betrayal didn't define me. It didn't end me. It redirected me. I was no longer living a life built around not making waves. I was building one shaped entirely by intention. Lucas never reached out again. I didn't expect him to. What would he even say? Sorry I slept with your wife. Cowards rarely write epilogues. I don't hate Olivia. I don't even resent her. We were both lost, in different ways, and only one of us crossed the line. But both of us had stopped showing up long before it happened. That favor he asked, what seemed like a harmless request, ripped open a truth I didn't want to see. But in that chaos, I found clarity. In betrayal, I found a mirror. And in leaving, I found myself. Sometimes, the worst thing that can happen is exactly what you need to wake up.